So, if anybody asked you guys that who do you think is the greatest pirate that's ever lived, most people might say someone like Captain Jack Sparrow or Blackbeard or Captain Morgan. These were indeed the legendary names in the world of piracy, but none of these people will top this woman here. This is Madame Zheng or Zheng Yi Sao. So this Chinese woman was the greatest pirate that has ever lived. So this is Madame Zheng's story, from a sex slave to a pirate queen. So Madame Zheng, she had a very rough childhood growing up. So before becoming a pirate, she was a prostitute. She was working on one of those boat brothels that traverses through the waters in the South China Sea, serving to mainly pirates as their clients. But you know the old saying, good times create soft people, and hard times create tough people, or something like that. Nobody in history was more top G than Madame Zheng herself. At her very peak, she commanded over 1,800 warships, and she ruled the South China Sea with terror and the iron fist. She made enemies with several nations and empires all at the same time. And the craziest part of her story is that she actually died peacefully as an old lady. So the time is 1801, and Madame Zheng, she would marry a local pirate captain, Captain Zheng Yi. We have to talk about this Vietnam War, but not the one you're thinking about. This is the Vietnam War before the Vietnam War. So the Tay Son rebels in Vietnam, they finally managed to unite Vietnam, but however, they will be invaded by the Qing Dynasty China at the time. So what happened is the Vietnamese, they went to Madame Zheng and the Zheng pirates. They hired them to fight off the Chinese invaders. And in 1802, the Tay Son was unfortunately overthrown, but instead of dismantling the fleet, the Zhengs they formed an alliance with the rival Cantonese pirate gang, and they formed the empire of over 70,000 sailors. Yes, over 70,000. They had 800 main ships and roughly 1,000 smaller boats. Now her forces they will be split into 6 fleets. So the Zhengs they split their massive fleet into 6 divisions. They will each be marked by a different color of a flag. For example, there was red, black, green, blue. You get the idea. These 6 divisions, they acted 100% outside of the law and order from any form of government from any nation. Unfortunately, in the year of 1807, so Zheng Yi, as Madame Zheng's husband, he passed away. So the cause of death is not confirmed to the present day. Now, Madame Zheng is in charge of this massive fleet of 1,800 warships and 70,000 sailors. She appointed Zhang Bao. Zhang Bao is the protege of Zheng Yi to command the Red Flag Division. This was her most powerful division out of the 6. Oh, by the way, it is widely believed that this guy, Zhang Bao, he was actually a bisexual, and he was one of Zheng Yi's lovers, which means that Zheng Yi was also bisexual. So, just, little interesting little backstory there. Madame Zheng would then go on to marry Zhang Bao. Now let's talk about Madame Zheng's her laws and codes. So to command such a massive fleet is no easy task, and she had to keep everything in order, and she must rule with iron fist. We're talking about 70,000 pirates here, so Madame Zheng, she wrote strict laws and codes to punish any offenders. So basically, for example, anybody that sexually assaulted a female captive will be sentenced to death by execution. And so in China's Guangdong province, so her fleet at one point destroyed 63 military vessels out of the 135 in the province of Guangdong. And during her raids in the province, she collected thousands and thousands of guns and ammunition and cannons in order to supply her warships. The Chinese soldiers in the area, they were so scared of fighting her. Anybody that was given the task of capturing Madame Zheng, they would actually intentionally sink their own ship and play chess by the shore, because that's how scared they were. That's how legendary she was. Let's talk about her laws and codes, okay? So, let's start here. So a pirate may not go ashore without her permission. First punishment for breaking her rule was to have one's ear slit. Yeah, it's very similar to what they did to the slaves back during the Atlantic slave trade. Second punishment was execution. Yes, if having your ears cut off was not enough to serve as punishment, After that, you get killed. Also, captured goods are to be registered before being shared. An individual ship that captures a cargo may keep 20% of it, but the remaining 80% is to be added to the general prize fund of the entire fleet. There is absolute zero tolerance for abuse of women, captured or otherwise, unless they have a permission from the headmaster. I'm not sure how exactly this rule works, but a pirate may buy a captured woman for his wife for $40. It's hard to compare this price to the 2023 inflation standards. It's likely, something around a few thousand US dollars, I would say, in the present date. Also, town folks, they must be paid for their provisions, and clearly this was nearly never enforced. We're talking about pirates after all. You have to be a little bit ruthless. So some of these captured cargoes, they included things like precious, jewelry, gold, silver, silk, Chinese spices, porcelain, tea, cotton. The list goes on and on. And these goods, they will be go on to be sold to merchants on the coast. And in case of foreign ships, the captured mariners, they were often ransomed for cash. So after securing so many military bases on land, Madame Zheng set up offices throughout the cities in the Guangdong province, and she collected taxes and protection fees in order to finance her massive fleet of 70,000 sailors. Madame Zheng even once fought against 5 American ships. She blockaded a tribute mission to Thailand, and also captured a Portuguese ship in Macau. By the way, she did all of these in less than 24 hours. She's like, the Thanos of pirates. Then there was the infamous battle in the South China Sea. So in July of 1808 and also in July of 1809, she twice obliterated the Chinese naval fleets that was guarding the river delta between the Portuguese Macau and the city of Guangzhou. So the first battle only took 16 hours, and the Chinese Navy was completely humiliated by Madame Zheng's forces. And after this defeat, the Chinese admiral that was put in charge, he committed suicide. The second attack in 1809, this required 10 times more effort. This was absolutely brutal. Madame Zheng got to the point where she ordered her men to swim to the Chinese ships and board them and begin the attacks from there. The coastal cities and towns in China were completely burned down. In Sanshan, in August of 1809, at least 80 villagers were executed, and their heads were hung on a large tree on the coast as a warning to others. In September of 1809, over 1,000 civilians were killed in the Taoqiao Island. In total, over 10,000 civilians were killed in this brutal campaign of 1809 that saw the pirates get within just 25 kilometers or 16 miles off the coast of Guangzhou. Even European warships were taken, such as the 2 Portuguese ships that was protecting Macau in September of 1809. There was a lot more to this story, but most important message is that this battle was absolutely brutal. Then comes the year of 1810. Managing such a massive fleet of pirates was always going to be a huge challenge. Internal tensions had reached a boiling point. Also, the campaign of 1809 was extremely costly for everybody, and it really weakened the morales within the 6 divisions. Then everybody reached a boiling point, especially between the red and black divisions. Those were her 2 most powerful fleets. So in the year of 1810, the Chinese government, they were so desperate to bring the piracy in the South China Sea under control. So Madame Zheng, then she agreed to amnesty for the pirates' surrender in exchange for her pardon, and she was extremely smart about this. So in April of 1810, the Pirate Federation under Madame Zheng was successfully dismantled peacefully, and Zhang Bao, her husband, he was allowed to keep 120 warships, and he was given the title of a high-ranking officer in the Chinese Navy. Now, Zhang Bao and Madame Zheng, they will go on to live a luxury and peaceful life in China's Guangdong province until Zhang Bao's death in the year of 1822. After this, Madame Zheng, she will open a casino with her then 11-year-old son in the city of Guangzhou, and she enjoyed the massive profits with her son for the rest of her life, all the way until her death. And in the year of 1844, Madame Zheng would die in peace at the age of 69. It is a miracle for a pirate to live to this age. This is the end of the chapter for the most legendary pirate of all time, bigger than Jack Sparrow. bigger than Blackbeard. Now, this is how feminism should be portrayed. This is how feminism should be taught. Instead of blaming the patriarchy, Madame Zheng, she became the face of patriarchy itself. Her legacy lives on to the present day. Her character, she was portrayed as Mistress Qing in the 2007 popular Disney film, Pirates of the Caribbean at the World's End. I think it is an amazing franchise. Final thoughts on this. So Madame Zheng, her dominance proved one thing for sure, that the Qing dynasty China was weakening and the cracks are showing everywhere throughout the country. The emperor system was rotting itself from inside out, and this was very obvious in the Chinese Navy. So the Japanese, the British, and the Portuguese, even the French, they all realized this, how weak China has gotten, so they took advantage of this weakened China. Remember, I made this video a few months ago. They called the Chinese Dongya Bingfu, the sick man of East Asia. So Macau was taken by the Portuguese. The British unleashed hell on Chinese during the two Opium Wars. China would lose Guangzhou and Hong Kong to the British. The Japanese would take Taiwan easily during the First Sino-Japanese War. Yes, Taiwan used to be ruled by China for over 200 years. The French would burn down the Summer Palace. This is known in China as 火烧圆明园, one of the most humiliating events in Chinese history. This was the beginning of the end of over 4,000 years of the emperor and the dynasty era in China. Rest in peace, Madame Zheng. Your legacy will live on forever. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hope you guys will have a great weekend. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.